When we look at this, it's a decision-making process. So I look at this through the lens of let's just improve our decisions. And that's all from a firefighter's response to a community member's response in an emergency. It's just a series of decisions. So we want to make sure that we make good decisions based on good information, bearing in mind that the environment we're operating in, you won't have good information. So we're trying to, what do you do in that sort of a space? So what we did is sort of building on the sessions that we had earlier, where we looked at the fire danger ratings and what it actually meant for the rates of spread and all those sort of things to understand the decision making. We've got a Phoenix run. The Phoenix Fire Modelling is a program that the fire agencies have where they can put in all the weather conditions that's based on the fuels in the area. Apparently you push a button with all the information and it'll do a fire run for you. So it'll actually start to show you what a fire might do. Of course, it's a model. The colours of the modelling too sort of shows intensity. When we bring this up, so we've run a fire model for the Marengo sort of area and also for the Skeens Creek area. So the emergency responders have been basically shown this exact modelling and the conditions. And we've slowly been teasing out the decision making on the response to that, what it actually means. Where you probably, with a Apollo Bay, might get 15 firefighters responding, plus a few from DELWP and Parks, Victoria. So all in all, plus you might get a couple of strike teams in here earlier. So all in all, you might have, best case, 50 plus responders in town. The modelling, I'm hoping to show the time and space, and that's really, really important, is to slow everything down, and work through, work the problems. Now the weather we're going to show you is a bad day. It's and this is the same weather we've been using on all the response agencies planning. So we run the scenario, then we break it down in hour lots, what's happening in this first hour, what's going on. So I'm going to relate a bit about, connect that to the response that will actually happen. I'm going to do it in hour chunks from a fire start, and we'll just talk about each section. Let's step through the report of the fire and what are some of the things you can do, and then we can look at how far this fire spread in an hour. There's our fire start. So it's 11 o'clock. So you're at home or wherever you are. How will you know that fire started?
From our place you can see it.
You'll see it, yep. Yeah. Others? Vic Emergency AFSM, say a bushfire in your area. We have an idea of its potential, but we don't actually know how bad it is. We still haven't got eyes on the fire. One of the knowns we're going to have aircraft over it in the first 20 minutes or so. So 1 hour in. So this is just under those conditions, the spread. So when you look at that and the pixels, how it's burning. So this is all based on, and with the yellow pixels, that comes down to the intensity. So that red and orange are the high intensity. So yellows, it's a moderate intensity, and that would be right through the grass. So probably pretty much a grass fire at this stage. And we talked about it at some of the workshops, is spend that 10 minutes, okay, you've got some apps, we've got the weather, the fire danger index rating app, you can actually work out rates of spread, and you can actually have your map of the district. And just go, okay, 1 hour, this is where I am, in 1 hour, 2 hours, it's going to be here. And that hour, like where you are, how long does it take to drive in? 10 minutes? So if we haven't caught the fire in the first hour, it's initial attacks either failed or we haven't quite rounded up. So that's, if you like, now what's happening behind the scenes, more resources have been caught in. As soon as an aircraft would have picked that up pretty quickly, you're not catching this thing today. So calls are going out to get resources in. If you can see the smoke, you'll know if they're catching it. And again, you have that little bit of time. So You look at the fire and it'll be putting up some smoke. When it starts to get going, when it gets to that stage, the smoke column will change. It'll be significant. You'll see the change in the smoke and you'll know that that's going. It's not being stopped. And also, you can also notice too, if you see the fire start, you'll know if the crews are succeeding or it's not going, because the smoke column won't be getting any bigger and the colours will be, you'll see it actually not developing. We can control now our actions, what we do. What about in town now? What do you reckon the people in Apollo Bay and Marengo are now seeing? Smoke. Plume of smoke out the back. They're probably hearing aircraft. They're probably hearing sirens from fire trucks. But let's go back to your plan. So at this point, are you thinking might sort of head into Apollo Bay? Good move. Yep. Nice. And what's the worst that can happen? You go home again. You have time. And even if you feel uncomfortable at 10 o'clock in the morning, you go, you know what? It's just not a nice day. I think I'll just head into Apollo Bay for the day. So, what's it like in town now? All you see in the smoke is glows, and you'll think you've got fire everywhere. And well, you have, but they're spot fires. So each of those spot fires, even though they look like they're massive, they're not. They will be small fires. Every one of those takes time to develop. So they don't start and then just burst and get into a massive conflagration. They start small, and it takes time to build up to a size of intensity. So the smoke column now is just coming right across there. If you're in Apollo Bay, so you guys are already coming to Apollo Bay. I think it's a good decision. So you're sitting in Apollo Bay going, well, I dodged a bullet there, look at it going past us. What was that forecast again? Change. So here we are. So what do you reckon the people of Marengo? And this looks like, oh, we'll just get in the car, we've still got time, we can just drive in, because at smoke, everything's happening. Traffic, oh, I can imagine, yeah. You know one good thing that you've got? And I know it's not great, and no agency's going to say go to the beach. The fire won't burn through community, like through the housing, like a tsunami. It just can't, it physically can't burn that way. It doesn't burn like that. And this is the trouble with this model. It looks like a tsunami's going to run through. It'll break up. It gets into houses and streets and all that sort of stuff, and intensity's going to drop. But so here you are in Apollo Bay. The best information you're going to get in Apollo Bay will be, as you sort of see, looking at the sheets, where you're going to go to for information. Surf Life Saving Club. And so the link between the LCF, the local command facility, they're the ones who, their job is to provide information to the surf club. So they'll have the best, latest information going to the surf club on a regular basis. The thing is, we don't lose anybody to the fire. Smoke and all those things and other issues, but while we've got you there, not perfect, it's going to be the worst time of your life, the smoke, it'll be just horrific. But if you know it, you can prepare for it. Smoke, well, at least we got used to using masks. And goggles, as I suggested, just swimming goggles, anti-fog swimming goggles. So your eyes are okay, breathing's not too bad. I've got water and shade. I'm good. So here you are. So imagine at it again. Agencies, when it's got to this, will probably, if they were out of the forest, they'll be now back in town. So all local resources, they'll have a trigger point as well. If first attack fails, their trigger point is to come into town and do their secondary plan. And the idea we did trigger points is because what actually happens with firefighters from a human factor point of view, once they're out there fighting the fire, they get so engrossed in the firefight, those decisions are really hard to make. So you've got to put some trigger points into when you hit that trigger point, you disengage and head back to town. So that's where a lot of the resources, and typically the fire agency will be moving people, head down to the foreshore, head into the wherever it may be. So that'll be the primary role of the emergency responders. Their first priority is to move everyone get them to where they'll be safe, and then they'll be looking after any buildings and, you know, making sure we don't lose buildings if we can. The shopkeepers has got a really great role to play. Is one, they're going to be safe where they are. If you want to keep people safe, then it's good just to keep as normal as possible. But if they're going, look, all we need to do is don't go anywhere, just leave your car where it is. Information's going to be at the surf club, and just keep cool and drinks. And if you've got every shopkeeper doing that, everything's starting to, and people then start looking after those basic needs. You can set up, if you know these things as well, you can set up where to meet family in your plan. If we get separated, we'll be at the foreshore, whatever it may be. The what ifs. So 14, what do you know also about the fire there as well, from the shape of the fire? That the wind change is starting to happen, isn't it? You see that eastern flank is starting to go. And from a firefighting effort, that's where all the aircraft and everything will be working. They'll be working that eastern flank to try and stop that spread. Now, this model's always taken with no fire suppression activities involved. So this is just if no one went to the fire, this is just how the fire would run. So you've got to remember for those 2 hours, we will have aircraft just hammering that eastern flank. But you're in Apollo Bay now, your first decision. So in that scenario, then the wind changes. So in 4 hours from that fire start, it's now on the edge of Apollo Bay. And that's the worst thing about Phoenix. It looks like it just spreads through like a tsunami. It just can't do that. So it's an indicator of fire spread. And to put everything into context, you can have a nasty fire here for sure. But you have some real advantages as well. That grassland around the townships it'll move fast, everything like that, but the intensity won't be as much. So when it gets there, when it's the role you can play as well. But remember, going right back to that very, very first one, there's 4 hours between there and your sheltering in Apollo Bay. And 4 hours is a long time.